Yeah, that is so cool. Now, what year does your car have to be? How old?
1974 or older. And every year older, you can get a percentage off of your score, which is why old cars always win the great race.
Welcome to Sam's Garage, presented by NH Oil Undercoating. Welcome to a brand new season of Sam's Garage. This episode, Sam visits the Coker Tire facility to prep for the great race. Next, Sam takes us on a tour of a new project car this season, a 1955 Chevy Bel Air. Then Modern Driveline drops by to assist in installing a 5-speed transmission in a classic Pontiac GTO. And finally, Sam dives into his other project this season, a rare 1968 Pontiac Catalina Fastback. Sam meets up with Jeff and Houston at the Coker Tire facility to tell us about the history of the great race and kick off the adventure.
We are at the Coker Tire facility, and we are here with Jeff and Houston, the director and coordinator of the great race. And I'm so excited to get in the car with Doug and run this thing. I'm going to have these guys tell you all about the great race and its history.
Well, the great race started in 1983. And it was the brainchild of a man named Tom McRae. And people just absolutely flocked to the idea of this. And it just grew and grew and grew from there to where now we have 135 plus cars in the great race.
So how many different classes are there of cars in the race?
Well, there's 5 different divisions. The rookie division, you'll be in the rookie division. If you come back a second year, you move into the sportsman division. As you get a little bit better, you'll move into the expert division, and if you win the race, you have to compete in the grand championship division. So all this is happening at the same time, and there's a high school and college student division called X Cup.
So tell us about the route we're taking this year.
Okay, so yeah, this year we're going to start in Owensboro, Kentucky here on June 22nd, and we're going to travel back roads all the way through Ohio and make our way over into Maine. It's going to be a great route for these guys.
And the great race is not really about a speed race, it's more of a technical race.
That's right, it's a race of accuracy, so there'll be checkpoints along the way that they don't know in advance, and so the goal is you're going to stay on target with what you're doing. So you want to make sure your speed is accurate and your times are accurate. That's what your navigator is helping you do.
And it's who's most consistent. You could actually be the overall champion of the great race without ever winning a day.
That's a real challenge to be that technical. But like you said, there's a lot of obstacles that come in your way. You have to factor in those obstacles that you wouldn't have factored in before, and that's what the navigator is all about. And all I got to do is drive. And Houston, this is a very nice tire. Is this one of the new line?
This is it. So this is the new Coker Classic tire that we've actually just majorly redesigned here at Coker Tire. So we're just now launching this project out, and we're going to have a car competing in the great race this year that's going to be our Coker Classic team. And so what it is we have upped the speed rating on this tire. So it's now a T speed rated tire. We've got a huge variety of all the different sizes that we've got this tire in.
And so what kind of car is going to be going on this in the great race?
It's going to be a 1951 Packard Ultrasonic. So those guys coming out of Kentucky going to race with us this year. It is a beautiful car with these nice looking wide whites on it.
Yep, classic look with that peace of mind.
Oh yeah.
Such a cool showroom, Jeff. Now tell me about Corky Coker and his involvement with the great race.
Well, I got involved in the great race in 1994 for the first time, and a couple years later, Corky got into the race as a competitor, and that's where I met him. And in 2010, Coker Tire bought the great race. He asked me to be the director, and so we started kind of like the new great race, and we started doing what we call themed routes.
So tell me about the history of Coker Tire. When was Coker Tire established?
In 1958, Harold Coker started Coker Tire, and people always come to him and say, I'm restoring in Duesenberg, but I don't have any tires. So that's when Harold started thinking, all right, I'm gonna work with some of these companies to get some of these old tires made. And then Corky took it and ran with it and built Coker Tire up. In 2018, he retired and sold the company, but it's still going as strong as ever. And we still remain very close with Corky. We see him constantly, go to lunch with him.
That's awesome. He's a great guy.
Oh, a great guy, and he's a great friend of the Great Race.
Yes, and a great friend of the whole hobby.
Yes.
Welcome back to Sam's Garage, presented by NH Oil Undercoating. Sam provides a rundown of this season's project car, a classic 1955 Chevy Bel Air convertible owned by Victor Klein.
We got many projects this season on Sam's Garage. One of them is this awesome 1955 Bel Air convertible belonging to Victor Klein. So you know a convertible is rare and very sought after. Did you originally want a convertible, Victor, when you went looking for it?
At first, I just wanted any Bel Air, any Tri-5 I would have been happy with. And then I stuck it out, and this car came across for a reasonable amount. And when I was talking to the seller, I just kept thinking, I said, this car looks familiar. I've seen this car before. And then he sent me pictures that instantly I recognized. I bid on this car on Bring a Trailer and lost to the person that I bought it from. And so he bought it, did a little work to it, and he just wanted to flip cars, and I bought it from him.
So what have you done to it before we're doing what we're doing?
I've had it repainted, I redid the interior, I added the wheels, and added disc brakes.
Well, then this looks like it's completely a perfect candidate for the rest of the job, which is going to be the drivetrain. And what we're doing is going to be a 6-liter LS engine, fully built with Brian Tooley components as far as the camshaft kit and the valve train goes. We got Summit Racing internals on the inside, and we've got a 4L80 transmission with an ACC performance torque converter going into this thing. It's going to be awesome. We're using Dirty Dingo engine mount bracket kit along with the Crossman for a transmission. So we're going to be doing the powertrain upgrade, but along with that, we're going to do the rear end as well. And we got ourselves a quick performance 9-inch Ford rear end along with a 373 complete posi traction limited slip differential with Willwood disc brakes added onto it. Now, Victor, you've already done the disc brake conversion front and rear on this car. So what we're going to do is we're going to go with a really big disc brake setup, especially for the front, to complement that big diameter wheel that he's got. It's going to look really good behind those 22s. We're also going to be doing the fuel system because that old fuel system is for a carbureted setup. We're going to need 45 PSI. So I went with Summit Racing. I went to get a Phytech complete fuel tank unit, baffled, so that when you're coming to a stop or when you're taking off from a light, you don't have any starvation for the fuel system, along with a nice Edelbrock complete top-end electronic fuel injection kit. So that's going to make it probably 19 miles per gallon. You know what I mean? Cruising down the highway will probably get a little over 20. That's pretty nice considering we're almost tripling the horsepower, right?
Yeah.
So to complement all that, we're going to need a cooling system. And so Cold Case does an awesome job with the cooling system. They're very efficient. It's all compacted in one unit. So on the Bel Airs, you guys have to change out the whole core support. And because we're doing the engine swap, we're going to be using the Dirty Dingo accessory kit. It's going to move the engine forward 3/4 of an inch. So we're going to have to move that radiator from the front part of the core support to the back side of the core support. Cold Case does a very nice job by giving you a complete core support made out of aluminum, and when you install it with that candy, it's going to really pop. Now, how long have you had this, Victor?
Close to a year now.
Close to a year? What made you want to buy a Bel Air?
I've just always liked them since a kid, always.
You know, this is one style, we were talking about it as we were working on it, that will never, it's timeless, it'll never go away.
Yeah.
No matter how much the age group keeps moving along, it seems like the younger crowd, there is still a love for them out there like you. So this is very cool. I'm really glad that you brought it over, Victor. It's an absolute pleasure to be able to build this car for you. And when it's done, when you come pick it up, I'd like to see your reaction.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a cool build. You guys follow us. Every week you'll see us adding something to the Bel Air, and when it's all done, it's gonna be an awesome roller, and Victor's gonna come drive off into the sunset. It's a Honda B Series VTEC twin cam. We are going to be turbocharging this vehicle, so getting it ready for Nopi Nationals next year. What I'm gonna do is I went to race winning brands and got me pistons and rods, because when you wanna build yourself a car with peace of mind and have a whole bunch of reliability, you go there to get things like JE pistons, Manley connecting rods, Haltech computer systems, so that you can actually work on your vehicle. So what I did was it got me a set of dish pistons, forged, standard bore, because you guys, I can't tell you how many times I have taken these engines with a hone at home, bored out the cylinders at home, just cleaned them up, got myself 17 to 23 thousandths clearance for the rings, put the pistons in, put brand new Honda bearings in that I took out, and everything lives for many, many thousands of miles, and it'll be good for roughly 600 horsepower. This thing, I'm getting it ready for Paul Parker. It's gonna be in a Honda Civic that's gonna be at the Nopi Nationals September 2025 at Atlanta Motor Speedway in Hampton, Georgia. So maybe you guys should be thinking about that, getting yourself a car ready for the Nopi Nationals.
Welcome back to more Sam's Garage, presented by NHOU. Bruce from Modern Driveline stops by Sam's Garage to help install a TKX 5-speed transmission with overdrive in a 1965 Pontiac GTO.
Today at Sam's Garage, we got a special guest. I got Bruce from Modern Driveline. We have a 65 GTO belonging to Michael. This thing's a 4-speed. He doesn't like it. He wants an overdrive so he can drive it better on the highway. And you brought us an entire kit.
I brought us a TKX 5-speed with
That's
overdrive.
awesome.
We have basically part of our engineered solution here, all flywheel clutch, all the pieces necessary to put a TKX into a GTO.
So basically you can do this with a friend on a weekend without having to leave your house.
Yeah, and with a lift, you could do this in a day.
What we're gonna do, guys, is take out the original 4-speed. We're gonna remove the bell housing. We're gonna check the clutch and change out the clutch disc itself. We'll look at the flywheel and see if it needs to be replaced or not. And then we'll go in with our new Modern Driveline Tremec TKX transmission, and there'll be very little modification to the cross member. The only real big mod is gonna be the drive shaft.
Yeah, the drive shaft is going to have to be shortened because this unit is longer than the original Muncie. With the bell housing no longer parallel to the block or perpendicular to the crank, and then the issue then becomes it affects the centering. So once we have a problem with the centering, we have vibration, the input shaft, release, all kinds of other problems. So it is imperative that we are making sure all of this stuff is clean, flat. We want to check the bell housing for any kind of cracks before we go and do an installation. One of the key points of an installation is the type of clutch that we're using. Being that we can manufacture, we can control the pressure plate in both in its action, its ratio, lever height, and just the characteristics, because some cars can only use a 3-finger type clutch. When we go to a diaphragm, we're trying to update the technology. So whenever possible, we do use diaphragm. We make sure that we're using a double sprung hub, we're using a good quality component. We want the double riveting. We want quality facings. We can control what type of facing we're using. Kevlar is our go-to for a lot of solutions for the street and for performance, whether we're autocrossing, road racing, or just daily driving. So we'll put Kevlar on one side, and on the opposing side, we'll make a multi-friction out of it. Now the Kevlar brings us smooth engagement modulation, but it also gives us longevity and drivability. The Modern Driveline unit, we take the transmission from Tremec. 3 positions are available from the factory. However, when we're dealing with 4 speeds, we want the shifter, in a case like the GTO, to be offset to the left so that we can get the OEM position. So we've taken time to machine the case and relieve areas to gain more access to the shifter. And then of course now we're able to come up from the left-hand side through the existing hole without having to cut any of the sheet metal and use the OEM console. So the idea here is to make the transmission fit the car and not the other way around. And we've maintained this to being completely sealed with a wet box. And so we've got all of the engineering that was originally done with Tremec unit into our Modern Driveline side shifted unit. and we have the ability to move the stick to 2 different locations, even within our own shifter.
Bruce and I got the complete TKX kit from Modern Driveline installed in the 65 GTO with just a couple hiccups like the body mounts.
Yeah, the body mounts is an important factor for tunnel clearance. You know, the car has settled over time. It's a full frame car, so we've lost probably a good 3/8 of an inch.
So we're going to gain that clearance by putting new body mounts on it. Right now the transmission is a little close to the tunnel, so we're going to fix that with body mounts tomorrow. And then that shifter fit really nice considering this is an auto to manual conversion.
Yeah, because we can clearly see where the customer added the hump in.
And the TKX that you provided goes right in that spot.
Welcome back to Sam's Garage, presented by NHOU. Sam gears up for another major project this season, beginning the teardown of his 1968 Pontiac Catalina Fastback.
Julie, it's about that time. The 1968 Catalina Fastback, very rare car. I've never seen one. This season, we're going to be doing a complete build on this car.
Yeah, I know you're excited to get started on this car. You got lucky. I mean, it's a good, solid car from the start, which makes it fun, less worrisome going into it.
It could use another paint job, but I'm not going to do that. I like the way it looks as is because it's a nice driver.
There's plenty of time for that. I think it's, hit the important stuff first.
This is an automatic car, so we're going to be doing a manual conversion. We got a Tremec TKX transmission. I'm excited about that. We went to Summit Racing. We got some motive gears to go ahead and do a 373 posi traction in the rear end. All right. We went ahead and went with Edelbrock. Got me a complete top end kit. Comes with the camshaft, a roller in this case, cylinder heads, along with a Pro Flow EFI system for the top.
Everything on this car is old. It's original. So everything, all the upgrades, I'm sure, are going to be much, much later.
Yep, everything is cast iron. The first thing you want to do is take out all the fluids, starting with the antifreeze, because you're going to have to remove the radiator. So you're going to remove the fluids, remove the radiator, and then you're going to tackle the carburetor. Go ahead and remove it. It's the easiest thing. Get it out of your way. Then we're going to go ahead and remove the accessories along with the water pump and the timing cover. All right. So once you remove the timing cover, then you can go remove the valve covers, remove the valve train by loosening and removing the rocker arms, taking out your push rods. Then you want to take off the intake manifold. Make sure you take your heater hoses off, any PCV valves, any vacuum lines that are connected to the brake booster if you have a vacuum booster assist. Remove everything from the intake manifold, then you could pull that off. Once you got the intake manifold off, then you can start to tackle the cylinder heads. Now in this case, because this is a Pontiac, the manifolds sit kind of downhill. So the hardware is very hard to get to in some cases. One or two of them you can't even get to. So I left the manifolds on the cylinder heads, removed them as a unit. I'll go ahead and transfer the manifolds from the old original heads onto my new Edelbrock aluminum heads. That way they'll go in as a unit and it'll save me one step in the completion because I would have already done it on the bench. When we remove the timing cover, exposing the timing chain and the camshaft. Go ahead and remove the chain, remove the bolt for the camshaft. That's going to remove the eccentric that rides the fuel pump. We're going to reuse that and I'll explain that to you later. So we're going to go ahead and remove the camshaft, but first you have to remove the lifters. Get the lifters out of your way, that way the camshaft will come out. Get the new Edelbrock camshaft, make sure you put assembly lube on it, put it back in the vehicle, take your new lifters, in this case we're using roller lifters, go ahead and lube them up, put them back into the block, go ahead and put your timing set on. The timing set does have advanced, retard, and top dead center. I went ahead with 0 top dead center. Go ahead and make sure your timing marks are correct. Put your roller timing chain set back on. Went ahead and put my new Edelbrock timing set back on. And now we're ready to go. Next week we'll be installing the timing cover along with the top end of the engine. What's most important to me is a driver, something that you can get in and drive, not something that you're afraid to drive. You got too much money in, and you won't take it to the store in case somebody doors it.
Right.
This one, I won't care. Yeah. It's going to have a bunch of horsepower, probably doubling the horsepower, and then we're going to be able to take it anywhere we want because we won't care if anybody doors it.
Yeah, but it'll be reliable. That's the big thing too. When you're driving a car, you take it to a car show, even if you're just driving it around town. I mean, we're in Atlanta, there's always traffic. You don't want to get stuck in the middle of traffic because your car shuts down. It's got to be reliable. I think that's number one.
Be sure to check out Sam's Garage on these other media platforms. Send us questions and feedback to info@samsgaragetv.com. That's a wrap for this episode of Sam's Garage. Sam and Doug are about to start their adventure on the Great Race. We got a rundown of Victor's beautiful 1955 Chevy Bel Air. The Pontiac GTO now has a new TKX 5-speed transmission. And Sam dives right into the Pontiac Catalina rebuild project.